Son shit, y'all ready?
I hope y'all are. This episode, look, this isn't necessarily a black history moment, but it is a history moment. I'm about to take y'all to the 90s, basically 94, maybe around 94, 93 to about 98, 97. We about to do a lot of that talk. About to be look, I'm letting y'all know because everybody doesn't get down with that hip hop talk. This is gonna be a hip hop moment in the 90s. You know what I'm saying? And I know how it is. I know how it's been. People get on their whole joint. You old heads be loving the 90s, the 90s. Nas, salute the Nas. Nas even says it on one of his joints. For all my trapped in the 90s dudes. There's a point where the 90s is just a different beast. You know what I'm saying? It's just one of those things. You know what I'm saying? And what happened with this situation is Wednesday we did the show, and I was like, yo, I want to salute 30 years. I want to tribute the 30-year anniversary of Illmatic. Then I was like, well, I might as well also do Ready to Die. Because when we talk about hip-hop debut albums in 94, those two albums are the only albums anybody ever focuses on. They act like nothing else had dropped in 94. That was new. That's from a new artist. They act as if nobody else debuted in 94. It's either Illmatic or Ready to Die. Then that just took me down this wild place. I'm like, yo, I forget Black History for a moment. It ain't like we talk about random stuff all the time. Anyway, let's just focus real quick on this right here. This 90s. You know what I mean? And today, Friday, we recorded yesterday about Trump and the RNC and all this and all that. And last night, it got crazier. They had Hulk Hogan out there. They had Hulk Hogan come out, and at no point did he turn it off. He was Hulk Hogan the whole time. Here's something, and I know I'm off beat, but we have to talk about this because this is what needs to be talked about. Then I'm gonna get into this hip hop stuff. Before I even talk about politics and Trump's speech, Hulk Hogan to me has never turned it off. Hulk Hogan, like his name is Terry whatever, right? His real name, his birth name, the name his mama gave him is Terry whatever. Vallejo, Valahi, whatever. This man, I have seen him in multiple interviews. He is still Hulk Hogan. He never turns it off. I remember watching something from the 80s at the tail end of the 90s, like 98, 99, where they were talking about why we couldn't ever see WWF Hulk Hogan versus NWA Ric Flair. Hulk Hogan was still in character. Ric Flair was a totally different dude. Like, Ric Flair was a total, if you didn't know Ric Flair was a wrestler, listening to that man in his interview, it was like, yo, this is just some business dude. This is some politician dude. This is just some random nice dressed dude with some shades on. Who is this dude? Hogan, on the other end, he was still in Hogan mode. Like, I don't know, brother, we're gonna do this. Ric Flair was like, sometimes the money won't be right, and you also gotta realize each company don't want their main attraction to be the loser. Somebody has to lose. So it may never happen. It might be one of those things, wishful thinking. One dude took the time to go, okay, let me be this dude. Let me be the real man, giving an honest opinion in an interview that's a real, genuine joint. The other dude was like, nope, I'm in character all day, every day. That's what we doing. That's what he did last night. He came in, ripped the shirt off. He was ripping, and then had a nerve to go, yo, I didn't mean to come up here like this, but and was still in that zone. Like, the voice never changed, the mannerisms never switched up. He just wasn't as over animated. He was still that dude. And I'm just like, yo, what? Alright, man. Do you. You know what I'm saying? It's weird. The Republicans just have like the cast of weirdos that they parade. It's just like you like, this is the dude who just was out here calling black people the N-word. You know what I'm saying? And I guess that's supposed to be something that white people would identify with, because the reason he was saying that was because his daughter is with a black dude, and that just took him over the board. And so I'm assuming, apparently, you know what I'm saying, white people are like, yeah, we cool. I love black people. They're my homies. Yeah, da da da. Hey, your man's just trying to get at your daughter. No, he ain't. Keep your hands off of her. I thought it was all good. We're cool, but you ain't touching my daughter. No, not that cool. We ain't that cool. Get you. Girl, if you don't go find you a nice white man, we were just supposed to be cool with that. We was supposed to be alright with that. But anyway, and if you go with that's all he did, that's enough. Sometimes that's enough. But not for that party, because again, that's the party who, while Vance's wife was talking, they were like, no, he can't be strong on immigrants because he got one. Look at this. No. And I said something to somebody. I'm like, don't be surprised if Trump loses, and that would be one of the reasons why. Trump and Biden aren't that far apart in age. They're both old. And Lord forbid somebody attempts to do what happened this past Saturday again, and they don't miss. Vance is president. His wife is the first lady. People are going to lose their minds. Where we are now is a different place than we were almost 20 years ago. You know what I'm saying? When Obama took office, the most you had to worry about was crazy outbursts. We were all scared that something like what happened with Trump would happen, but the most we got were just disrespectful outbursts. You know what I mean? The bar has been risen. They stormed the Capitol. They're out here making racial rants at the vice president's wife. The soon-to-be, could-be vice president's wife. A Republican, conservative Republican, took shots at the former president who's looking to be the new president. There's a whole different level of wildness right now. Trump comes on. Trump steps to the podium. He talks that talk. Trump was saying so much stuff that I'm like, yeah, these people are really eating out of the palm of his hand, because half of that stuff didn't even make sense. My man said, we are going to stop them from making electric cars because the automobile industry is about to be dead again. I'm like, they're the ones who make the cars. Did you mean the oil industry, but you ain't want to say oil industry, or were you just caught up in the moment and you went with the auto industry who builds cars? Unless there's a whole nother company that builds battery operated cars. That's the thing. I don't know. Is there a whole different group of people somewhere in a whole nother country, and good old fashioned oil gas cars are the only ones that are made in America? I don't know, because that needs to be, you have to ask, like, yo, I'm sorry, what? He didn't talk crazy about any of the controversial stuff that we're accustomed to hearing these, especially this month with the Project 2025. He didn't bring any of that out. What he brought up more than anything else was immigration. And he's like, yeah, man, I forced them to take the Mexicans back. And I was like, yo, son, because if you don't, you ain't gonna want to see this. It can be bad. And they kept him. I'm like, huh? One of the wildest things is my man took beautiful. He was just like, yo, I'm gonna take all this credit right here. He went lowest immigration movement happened my last week in office. The numbers were real low on that time. The lowest they have ever been, look, you can fact check that and you will probably be right. What was dope is he put the time frame on it. Like, yeah, the 3 years and 51 weeks before that, It was what it was. But that last week I was in office, the lowest. Check. Go look. They're like, yeah, he's right. The last week. Not like year 2, week 18, or even year 3, week 52. The last week of being president. No, you don't get to claim glory for that. Nobody's doing nothing these last few months anyway. Biden ain't doing nothing because he's out here gallivanting trying to get votes. You know what I mean? Like, nobody's really doing anything in an election year. It's kind of like you're out on the road trying to make moves happen. You can't brag on that for real. But you can brag on that. That's the beautifulness of it. He said it. You fact check it and it's right. He's like, yeah, see? But the common sense of it is like it just jumped completely out of control the very next week. Like, it didn't gradually escalate. It just overnight. Like, once you was complete, like January 7th, it was a whole different thing. Come on, man. Come on. All those so-called enemies that he was buddy with, I'm scared of him. He said things that happened in Ukraine wouldn't have happened if he was in charge. It would have. We wouldn't be involved. That's for sure. Let's just put that on. And a lot of Americans would be okay with that. Democrats and Republicans and independents. We'd be okay with that because that's a them thing. We ain't got nothing to worry about with that. God, that's a them thing. It would still have happened. We just wouldn't have gotten involved. It would have been like, he would have been the main person going, that's over there. Man, that's their thing. They be all right. Let the rest of the world help them out. They ain't even on this side of the water. That ain't us. Get out of here. I could see if it was Canada and then we had to kind of be worried just in case it spill over. And that's over there. We all right. He would have did that. That's what he would have done. We know this. It's just, my man, I love how he started out wanting to unify. And he ended on the unifying. He was like, yo, I'm going to be president of all America, not just half. That is what people want to hear. You know what I'm saying? It's our God-given right to be the greatest country in the world. That is what people want to hear. No matter where your political views stand, you want to be that. Talked about his relationship with other foreign leaders. You know what I'm saying? He said something that again, I think no matter where you sit on your political view makes sense. I will not let trans women enter women's sports. I don't care where you sit. I don't even care if you sit on the let trans women be trans women. Cool. You don't get to go out here and try to get down in women's sports. You still got that joint. And now here's the thing. I have heard, I don't know if it's for real, because guess what? I'm not a trans woman, so I don't know. I have heard that once they start taking these whatever they're doing, the pills, the shots, whatever, their muscles go away. They're not as, it's not as brawny, supposedly. And I know I know how I said that sounds like I'm mocking that. I'm not. I'm trying to, as I say it, make it make sense to me. That there is something that literally demasculates you, basically just takes away all of your masculine power. I don't know. Is that a thing? Like, you're 6'2", trans woman, and you're telling me you can't lift up maybe a 40-pound bag of dog food. I don't think I can do that anymore. That's the part I'm lost at. You know what I'm saying? I get not having them be part of that. So I'm all for that. Like I said, there's some things you have to stop and go, okay, yeah, I feel you on that. He was right. There were no wars. He said that. He was like, while I was in office, there were no wars. Nothing jumped off. That goes back to the whole thing with his version of how great he has with forming diplomacy. It's like, all right, cool. I get it, man. All right, yeah, you're right. You right, dog. I can't fight you on that. Still didn't talk about education. really didn't talk about health care. He said he's going to stop all these green initiatives and we're going to drill. That, and people are cheering. I don't know if people understand that has to happen somewhere. Where does that happen? Because you're messing up something somewhere. There's no going back when you damage the land. So where do you drill it? And there's nothing but wilderness all over the place. Like, when you travel the interstate, you know what I'm talking about. There's just beautiful wilderness. And everybody has found themselves going, wow, that looks so beautiful. That looks crazy. And then there's farmland. Are we going to take farmland from people? Matter of fact, there's land that just seems like it's there and somebody should be using it. And nobody's using it. Are we drilling there? Are we going to mess up the land by the interstate while you're traveling down whatever? Where does all this happen at? Because you're messing up everything. And people go, well, no, not really. There's the pros and there's the cons. And everybody wants to tell you it does mess up the land or it alters things. It'll just take a little more time to, we'll just have to do some shifting. We'll have to maneuver. We're a weird country in that aspect. He's talking about getting rid of green initiatives and everybody's clapping. I'm like, green initiatives is making sure the air is straight, breathable, like you can breathe. Because all of that stuff that you're trying to do is also going to mess up the air. So y'all just ain't trying to breathe. Y'all got oxygen packs. So are we selling oxygen packs somewhere? He's trying to restructure the Medicaid and all that. Like, it's a lot of stuff that's going on, and I remember the 4 years. I remember the first year and a half when he was dead set on repealing Obamacare. And he fell into the same trap that the Republicans fell into when Obama was trying to get it going and had gotten it done. And that was, if you have a better alternative, give it to me. And they don't. They didn't. Same thing with Medicare. Same thing with all of this. Same thing with Social Security. What is the better alternative? We don't have a better alternative. But it was great to hear him go, yo, we gotta unify the country. What I didn't like was the trying to eat off of the assassination attempt. Yeah. And if you're asking me how I feel about it, I still feel the same way I felt Saturday. It's a little funny looking to me. It don't look right. It doesn't sit right. And I hope that whether it's next year, whether it's a couple of weeks down the line, that it doesn't come out that it was fake. I hope that it was a real deal. I don't even know, because I hope it was real just seems wrong, but yeah, I hope it was real. I hope it was real. I hope the fact that he felt safe enough to then go, now let's just put on a show. I'm gonna show out, because Trump is that dude. And that's what makes it fake, because Trump is that dude. Trump is going to, it's all good. I don't know, man. It's just wild, man. It's just. But next month is the DNC, and who knows the kind of weirdness they got going on. They're still trying to figure out, do they want Biden to step down, and if he steps down, where do you go? Nobody knows what to do with that. They're like, do we let Harris handle that? And then you have to hear, like I told y'all yesterday, that the diversity song. She's a diversity hire. With her resume stacks up better than both of theirs together. And one guy was a president. Yeah, stacks up better than both of these dudes. She's there. Do you go outside of that and go back to another old white guy and totally skip the vice president? You know what I'm saying? History has it, Carter is the only sitting Democratic president that didn't get reelected. That reason is because the House of the Democrats found themselves divided and separate. they didn't unify. You know what I'm saying? One was Team Kennedy, the other was Team Carter. And that didn't work out because Reagan got it going. Reagan, which by the way, Reagan and Bush had their own internal thing going and came together. Worked it out. Figured it out and worked it out. You know what I'm saying? Deep animosity between these two dudes. Then it was like, okay, Reagan's that guy. Matter of fact, I'm gonna tell you who's gonna be my guy though. Bush. Word. That dude, the stuff y'all was saying about each other, yeah, that's gonna be my guy. Don't do that. We gonna be good. And it happened. Unity. So when y'all talk about, when I talk about, and people are talking about this unity that the Republicans have rallied around this dude, it's not new. That's what they do. That's what happens. When they didn't really want McCain to be the face or Romney to be the face, and it was like, we just can't bring that old white racist vibe back. That's where it went. You had to get McCain to go against Obama because Bush and his whole crew already gave you this weird, you know what I'm saying, New World Order, the Patriot Act, which by the way Obama never got rid of. Just putting it out there. Gave you this whole like iron fist would strike, taking your freedoms away and whiteness. That like what happened with Katrina and the fact they kind of that felt whiteness. So you had to bring in this dude. Okay, cool. Next go around, the next guy who doesn't seem as total right was Romney. So you had to rock with Romney. But anyway, man, I can't keep talking about politics. I told myself we're gonna do this 90s hip hop joint, and that's what we're gonna do. 90s hip hop. First of all, I tell people all the time, 93 to 94, 93-ish, 94 to about 97 is one big blur to me. It feels like one massive long year of just great hip hop music. Great hip hop music. Look, great hip hop music, and you can still say that because the tail end of '92, where you had Pete Rock and you had Dr. Dre, you had Gangstar, and you had Daz Effects, and you had Redman, and you had all of this stuff still filtering into '93. It was all good. '94 comes, Nas drops. Nas' album takes hip-hop by storm for so many reasons. One being, it just embodied the sound of hip-hop. You know what I'm saying? And I know people who aren't from New York. I'm not from New York. I'm from Virginia. But I know people who don't really find themselves drawn to that hip-hop, that New York hip-hop sound. Don't get it. But you're not understanding. Illmatic was the next level to what you had Black Moon doing, to what you had Wu-Tang doing, to what you had the Alcoholics out there on the West Coast doing, to what you had Onyx doing, to what you had Fat Joe's album doing, to what you had Farside and Souls of Mischief, also West Coast groups. Just a dope sonic hip-hop sound. For those who don't know, The Chronic didn't sound super West Coast. It was still hip-hop to the core. That's one, like, people like to go, oh, it really wasn't that different. Like, there's one beat that they're rhyming over, one sample that they're rhyming over, that was the Rap City sample, right? Like, for the Rap City, Big rhymed over it with his peoples. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Street Fighter 2, I'm inviting you to bring your get up in it. Same beat. Cause that's a dope. It's a Donny Hathaway sample. I'm snitching. But what I'm saying is, don't get it twisted. There was always a element of what was hip hop. You know what I'm saying? East Coast, West Coast, everybody down south, everybody understood that then there's that. And that was what I was talking about. When we talk about this hip hop thing, we're looking at it from a different perspective. And that's what Nas's album was. Nas gave you that. And it was like, yo, where do you go with this right here? How do you know what I mean? Then the storytelling was so dope. The bars, the arrangement of the bars was so dope. It was like, yo. And again, it's not that. And Nas had the benefit of coming out first. Nas had the benefit of being able to do all of this and have this world wrapped around the perception of how classic this was going to be, and it came in. Nas was LeBron James for 94, for hip hop. Here's this kid who's going to make a splash, and we want him to be great when he gets in the league. Nas already had the anticipation to be that album. Illmatic was supposed to be that album, and it was. Ready to Die was going to be one of them albums, and it was. Ready to Die is a whole different thing. I tell people all the time, Ready to Die, Into the Stage by Black Moon are the two albums where on that one album you get to hear the MCs change their style. On that one album you get to hear the music shift. You know what I'm saying? Like, Give Me the Loot, Things Done Changed, a couple of other joints. You listen to how that's all over the place, multi-layered samples. Then you get the what? Then you get, you know what I'm saying, Warning. Then you get Juicy. Then you get Unbelievable. The beat is simplified. It's just that thump now. It's just, ooh, okay. Give Me the Loot and all that stuff. You hear the voice on that. You hear, you know what I'm saying? You hear his voice on, like, you know what I mean? And then you know what I'm saying? I'm Ready to Die. All that. And then all of a sudden you get the Big Papa. You get the Unbelievable. You get the Warning. The flow, he slowed it down. He got a little more bass in his voice. It's a different dude. 94 was crazy. And in 94, if you went, yo, which album you rocking the most? I'm still rocking Nas the most. Nas was that, like, Nas changed the way people rhyme. I don't even know, like, again, if you didn't live it, you don't get it. Like, you were watching dudes have various styles, various moves, and doing various things, but then when Nas came out and he was constructing these bars, he was just like, yo, oh, that's what we're doing with the bars now? Okay, and the game shifted. The game shifted. We can't make it just look like it's these two dudes. J. Rue the Damager. Whole flow was ridiculously unique. The way he did that was such a yo. OC, nasty with it. Let's not play that game. OC was nasty with it. Mobb Deep comes back out on a whole different style, because Shook Ones 1 and 2 are now 94 singles. The album drops in 95. Different. Method Man drops a solo. Different. Hip hop was really opening up. Big L was, yo, 94. This is 94. Dog Pound. They're coming up. The single drops in 94. Snoop still had singles dropping in 94. The game was just different. Craig Mack, rest in peace. Rest in peace to Big too, by the way. The flows, it was so different. And that's what I try to tell people when people go, like, here's what I'm seeing as I talk about flows. I'm watching dudes who are now between 25 and 30 become a little disengaged with the culture, disengaged with the music. All this stuff sounds the same, man. All this, I don't know, man. All this stuff sounds the same. First of all, it's not that it all sounds the same. It's the music that you're accustomed to listening to sound the same. The game has always been diverse. You know what I'm saying? When people would talk about, oh man, all they got is such and such and such, I always was like, well, then there's these people right here, huh? And then when they hear it, their ears aren't accustomed to it, so they can't. You know what I mean? And that's even now, when these dudes are complaining about all these female rappers sound the same, and you go, well, There go Rhapsody. You know what I'm saying? There go Side Rock. There go, you know what I'm saying? And you start pointing out, there go Blimes. You know what I'm saying? You start pointing out all of these chicks to them that don't sound like that. And they hear it and they go, oh yeah, but I ain't into that. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're into this, but it all sounds the same, so you can't get away from what that's the thing. And when they talk that old head 90s, y'all man, y'all just stuck in the 90s. Y'all don't know me. Yeah, that's why nothing else rocks with y'all. The 90s was the most diverse joint going. And when I say, and again, I know that sounds like I'm contradicting myself, like I'm going like today's diverse. It is. What I'm saying is, in the 90s, on the radio, there was nothing more diverse. There was a no more diverse time than that time. I'm gonna go from the end of 93 to the beginning of 95. You turn on the radio. For us, it was a hip-hop station that was supposed to be modeled after Hot 97, called Kiss. Kiss 90-something, Kiss Hot, you know what I'm saying? 103 Jams was just a regular station. And that's a whole nother history I could go through, but I'm not going to go through it right now. Perfect example. Kiss was playing Protect Your Neck. It took a while for 103 Jams to play Wu-Tang. And when they did play the Wu, because for those who don't know, when the first single dropped, it was Protect Your Neck. Method Man was the B-side. When they did play it, they played the Method Man. They never played Protect Your Neck. Ever. I could hear Protect Your Neck 8 o'clock in the morning, 9 o'clock in the morning, 12 o'clock in the afternoon, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And this is before the DJs get into cutting and scratching that joint up. It played regular rotation. And if you are not a fan with Protect Your Neck, Google it. Bing it. Look it up. Go to Spotify or whatever. Look that joint up. Shook Ones Part 2. Heavy rotation. The Prophet, J. Rue Damager. I leap from the height of a single bound. Who are you? The Black Prophet. One day I got struck by knowledge of self. It gave me super scientific powers. Now I roam through the ghetto, battling my arch nemesis, Mr. Ignorance. What? Throughout the day. That was regular rotation. That wasn't something for the DJs to cut up one night for your DJ mix show. No. Regular rotation. From the end of 93 to the beginning of 95, I could turn my radio station on that joint, and I could hear E40's 95 album. I could hear Pete Rock's 94, Pete Rock and CL's 94 album, 92 album. The singles that they had on soundtracks, like One in a Million, What's Next on the Menu was still heavy joints. One in a Million actually charted where I'm from. Like on our local top 20 countdown, it made it to number 1 on that station. Go to 103, they won't even playing that. But that's not even what I'm saying. What I'm saying is the diversity. Too Short's joint. You know what I'm saying? This is still 93, 95. Ice Cube's joints. You had Outkast was the official first Atlanta hip hop group. And I say that because Criss Cross was already doing it. Silk Times Leather was already doing it. There was some people already rocking from Atlanta that was doing it. They never screamed out Atlanta though. So Outkast becomes the face of Atlanta. You know what I'm saying? Goody Mob follows in 95. You're getting the Goody Mob joint. You know what I'm saying? On that soul food and cell therapy. Who that moving through my window? Pal. All of this is playing at the same time. 8 Ball and MJG. Scarface. You know what I'm saying? All of this is playing at the same time. Common drops. I Used to Love Her in 94. Locks the world down if you were a hip-hop person. If you were about this culture, I met this girl when I was 10 years old. Yo, nothing like it. KRS-One's most real successful run on radio comes in 93 to about 97. You know what I'm saying? Boogie Down Production was great. KRS-One as a solo artist, his career really takes off 93 to 97. Return of the boom bap means just that. It's the return of the real hard beats and hard raps. All of a sudden, this joint is on. Hip hop versus rap is a B-side that charted. You know what I'm saying? Rap is something you do. Hip hop is something you live. The difference is kids nowadays, they got the video, so rappers don't need. Still, they don't really though. Hear me though. I'm 4 times on a Cineo. I got 10 videos, but doesn't help me flow. No, that's why when they come to the show, MCs out like they don't know. Dude, that was what you were hearing on the radio all the time. The 1-2 Pass It joint with the D&D project. Souls of Mischief joint. That's when you lost. That's when you lost. That joint is rocking. Alcoholics. Fresh. That's fresh. What? I don't even know the words of that joint, but that joint, I got more bars than Snapple got juice. Yeah, joint. I'm lost on the bars on that. But what I'm saying is, all of this was playing at the same time. All of this, and when you look up these artists that I'm talking about, none of these artists sound the same. Farside doesn't sound like Hieroglyphics or the Alcoholics and all that's West Coast. They don't sound like Snoop. Quick, 8, Compton. None of them dudes, well, not Snoop, but Dr. Dre, don't sound the same. None of that sounds the same. None of it sounds the same. Common, The Brat, Do or Die, Chicago. Crucial Conflict, I think it's from Chicago. None of them sound the same. You know what I'm saying? That was what I was talking about. Criss Cross, Outkast, Goody Mob, a dude named Drama. I think he was to me, was the start of the crunk joint. None of that sounds the same. Mystical. And Mystical comes out. You're starting to get the emergence of Bout It, which I think dropped 3 different times and for real. Master P is about to blow up. Master P's whole crew, nobody sound the same in his whole crew. Boot Camp Clique is in Brooklyn. None of these dudes sound the same. Wu-Tang, the only similarities you got are Ghost and Ray, and that's why they made the great combination. The rest of them dudes had a whole unique sound amongst themselves. Gangstar Foundation, at that time, was J. Rule, Gangstar, Big Shug, I can't think of my man's name. Big Shug, Gangstar, J. Rule, and what's the dude cutting close to the guard in a tight situation now? That dude, Boston dude, I can't think of his name right now. Nobody sound the same. Like, this whole thing with rappers need to sound the same to get your ear that's not what it was. You know what I mean? Your female MCs back in the 90s were just different. You know what I'm saying? Nonchalant, MC Champ. For people, I saw a thing where a dude was like, "What? We need to do a documentary on female MCs who are on here, like, and where are they now?" And he only had like 5 MCs, and basically they were the ones who made radio a lot. And it's like, dude, do you know how many female MCs were in the 90s? Like, it was heavy. It was out there. It was Entice. Man, I remember I had a thing for Entice, but I just used to be like, yo, oh my God, who is this cutie right here? You had Entice, you had Isis rocking them in the head, Lauryn Hill, Bahamadia. What? Come on, Nonchalant, MC Champ. It was Sugar, E40's people, Mia X. There was another chick that was down with No Limit for a minute too. Gangsta Boo, Trina. Like, let's Foxy, Kim. Let's keep it. Let's do it. Let's do that. Let's just start naming these 90s. I'm not saying in the 2000s for those who think like Trina. Yeah, Trina was on that tail end 98, 99. So yeah, she gets thrown in the 90s. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Trina. Or Missy was 97, 98. Missy, you get all of that. We get all of that. Not to mention you still had the vets like Light and Latifah and Yo-Yo and all of them still doing. Salt and Pepper remerges on the scene in the 90s with the Shoomp and What a Man and all that. What are we talking about? The game was crazy. And even now, I know I'm missing a whole lot of females names. I know I am. Because they were all over the place. On the D&D Passage joint, the B-side was a chick. I can't think of her name right now. But and it was a dope joint produced by Diamond D. Killing it. Females were out here running it. You know what I'm saying? Females were doing their thing. Let's not play this game. Like, it was just a whole nother level. And they never sound the same. Even when you think about when people would like to tell you Lil' Kim and Foxy sound the same, they really didn't. They had the same subject matters, but they really didn't. Lil' Kim relied heavily on being sexualized. Foxy was more like the down girlfriend. The game has just changed, man. The whole system is different right now. But, the 90s was just a different place. It was a different everything. Everything about the music was so wide open. You had so much going on. And to be honest, it didn't get crazy until 98. It became formulaic by 98. You know what I'm saying? And even in 98, at 99, as dudes were really trying to get their feet in the game. You're like, yo, salute to these dudes. Salute to Nori. You know what I'm saying? Nori's whole album is summed up to Super Thug. Super Thug is the odd man out on that album. And that was where salute to Freddie Fox. That's where the whole thing of the what came in. Dudes was really out here like, yo, this is corny, man. This is trash. You know what I mean? The album is great, but then this is the song that y'all went with as a single. Neptunes became big. You know what I'm saying? The game became formulaic, so much so that the Lox first album, people don't even talk about that Lox first album like they should. And a lot of that is because that was when that sound was really getting ill. The whole, let's take a popular song and just sample it. Big Willie's Fresh Prince, Will Smith's album, all that. Puff's whole joint, Mace's whole joint, like that became a thing. I still say salute to Nelly. I never was a Nelly fan. I'm not really a Nelly fan. But when you stepped back, and by 2005 or 6, it hit me. Listening to old promos, old advertisements for Nelly's album, Nelly did it by itself. I always tell people that. Like, yo, I don't like his music, but I respect the fact that he came in and did his thing. Because if you don't remember how it went down, it was like he blew up with the Country Grammar joint. And it was like, yeah, with the Country Grammar joint, and he got something with Lil BG and Turk, or I think Lil Wayne or Turk. He was doing something with Cash Money. They advertised that he had a joint with Cash Money. The next joint drops. It's boom, boom, he got something with Cash Money. That next joint drops with the Saint Lunatics. The Cash Money joint ain't even on the table no more. They're not even advertising that he has a song with Cash Money. It's all about him and his group. You don't get that. Like, that man did his thing. They just in case, here's some joint, like in case we gotta eat off of that. And it did. Same thing with Jay-Z. Like, Bun said the Big Pimpin' might not have supposed to have been a single. You got a Timbaland beat, and you got UGK. They was like that one, I think the second single didn't do well, so it was like, let's shoot this joint. And that's where that came in at. Businesses, you know what I'm saying? Like, back then, that weird space after 98 became formulaic, where it was like you had to have the joint for the chicks. You had to have that down south joint. Nas got caught up in it. A lot of rappers got caught up in the fast flow joint. You had to have that one track where you rhyming fast. You know what I mean? Everybody got caught up in the joint where your beat had to have a little crunk to it. Had to have that down south joint where you had to have that Timbaland drum tricker. Boom, 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 boom. Your joint had to have something like that for it to make moves, and everybody got caught up into those. Everybody got caught up in it. Like I said, Nas was an exception. Jay-Z capitalized on it. DMX, even when DMX really didn't do it, DMX did it because DMX did the joint with Aaliyah for the movie. DMX had his moments, and rest in peace to DMX. DMX rocks 2 albums in 98. Takes the game over. DMX is telling you you know what I'm saying? The songs that I personally never liked, he was like, yeah, I ain't want to do that joint. I ain't want to do Rough Rider Anthem. That's why them bars are basic. I ain't want to, man, like, God, I'm so glad. I ain't really want to do y'all gonna make me lose my mind up in here. I'm and Swiss is like, yo, I think he's basically, that hook is aimed at me. Like, yo, you know what I mean? And even then, when you talk about that going into the 2000s, that late 90s, the production, so many different producers were blowing up and getting their names in the game. You know what I'm saying? A young Just Blaze worked on the Harlem World album. Still got Timbaland about to emerge and really take over for hip hop, because he was already doing this thing with Aaliyah and joints like that. Now I'm talking about on some hip hop where like, yo, dudes are spitting on my beats. Pharrell's about to take over. Manny Fresh is really getting in this joint. Getting in this joint. Beats by the Pound was already knocking him around with it. You know what I'm saying? Pimp C was the producer for UGK. We don't give him a lot of credit on that. Was doing this thing. Scarface was his own producer, and a lot of times playing instruments and doing all that. We don't give him a lot of credit. He was going to come up. All of these dudes is out here doing their thing. Organized Noise is doing their thing. You know what I mean? You still got Large Pro, you still got Pete Rock, you still got Quick, you still got Daz, you still got Warren G. You know what I'm saying? You still got Dre, you still got Muggs. You know what I mean? Like, it's still dudes out here doing their. E. Swift was for the Alcoholics. You still got Havoc, who we don't give credit to, is basically running everything over there when it came to Mobb Deep and Mobb Deep affiliates. RZA, Wu-Tang and Wu-Tang affiliates. Pete Rock, Primo. You know what I'm saying? Yogi was a producer who was part of right now I think Crew. The name was CRU. Yogi was a producer who ended up working with Bad Boy for a minute. You had the whole Goodfellas, Bad Boy production team. Kanye was a part of it back then. Young Guru, who's Jay-Z's engineer, they were also part of it. No ID was out there doing this thing with Common. They for the most part were like Gangstar. You had the emergence of Dilla coming through, really just knocking you in the head with joints. Come on, man, like the hip hop joint, the sound was all over the place. And even now, as I say all this, I know I'm missing people. Redman tapped in for a hot minute. Tip, Shaheed went, you know what I'm saying, started going, I could make some joints even without Tip, and was doing joints. Eric Sermon was, come on. KG, somebody else we don't give credit to, who was holding that whole Naughty by Nature affiliation thing down. It's just so many dudes was out here doing their thing, man. Hip hop was just at a different place. So when you talk to somebody who lived through the 90s and experienced that, it's hard to, like, especially when everything sounds the same. So now I gotta pick the best apple pie out of apple pies. Like, there's no diversity. Who made the best vanilla ice cream? Well, okay, y'all all make the best. Give me some different flavors. That's all I'm saying. That's the thing. You know what I mean? And I think people are upset when we talk about the 90s because there seems to be this thing where we hold that up to a different standard, and we do. And when people go, well, there was some trash records out. Oh, no, trust me, there was garbage out in the 90s. Difference is the streets controlled that. The streets told you that was trash. They was like, no, that's not it. That's not it. They're not it. Nope, not messing with them. And other people got to eat. Even when the industry was shady and funky, dudes got to eat. Nine got to eat. Smooth the Hustler got to eat. You know what I'm saying? Domino out there on the West Coast. Here we go. Yeah, he got to eat. You know what I mean? Like, we when we heard joints that was official, these people got to eat. Even if they didn't get a second chance on a major label or whatever, they got to eat. You know what I'm saying? I wish I was a little bit taller. He got to eat. It was back in the day. I'm not a kid anymore, but some days I just wish I was a kid again. He got to eat. know what I mean? We picked what was cracking. I remember 94, there's a song by E-Rule. And even when I play it today on a mix show, I every once in a while I get somebody who hits me up and go, dawg, what's that? I remember hearing that. He wasn't a big star. There was no massive push for this dude. E-Rule's joint, Listen, is when we talk about underground classics, that is one of those underground classics. I remember that record was number one on a national hip hop countdown for like 3 weeks. Like, it pushed Resurrection out the way, because Resurrection was number one, and it was number 3 one time. Resurrection was number 1, it was still number 3. Resurrection was number 1, then it was number 2. Next thing you know, you look up and it's E-Rule, and E-Rule is just killing it. You know what I'm saying? And it was like, yo, hip hop. And when I say the 90s, I don't even just mean from 94 on to like 99. I'm talking about even in the beginning stages when you had Black Sheep. You know what I'm saying? Like, yo, phenomenal. Black Sheep joint. The Choice Is Yours is still a classic. You drop that anywhere and the crowd will go crazy. That's what I'm talking about. That NWA's second album, Ice Cube solo album, the joints, we were ridiculous back then. The X-Clan, Parrish, King's Son, all of that. Ghetto Boys dropping the mind playing tricks like Scarface, Bushwick, and Willie D. Like with Nightmares of Girls Killing Me. I know that's a big verse, but I'm just saying to give you an idea. That's the impact that they had. Look, I'm gonna switch the subject for a hot second. Matter of fact, this is gonna be the last thing I talk about, and then we're just gonna call it a night, call it a day. Billboards did their top 100 hip-hop albums of all time, and I need people to understand of all time. I saw the Joe Buttons podcast, and they kind of touched on the top 10, and they were like, it just feels like nobody wants to move these albums out the way, or they're just, you know what I'm saying, it's like, this is it, and can't nothing like new stuff really crack that spot. I looked at the whole 100 list. The earliest album on that list, when I say earliest, the most recent album on that list is Tyler, the Creator's joint from 2021. It is filled with a lot of 90s. And that's the point. Like, you're going, why can't newer albums come in and make that impact? The reason it can't make that impact is because you're also saying a lot of the stuff sounds the same. You know how unique you have to be to have your stuff be that different nowadays for the radio consumption? Because again, I can pull up Bodie James. I can pull up a lot of these dudes. I can pull up a lot of dudes. We can pull up Butcher, you know what I'm saying? Benny the Butcher. We can pull up Benny the Butcher. You know what I'm saying? Action Bronson. I can still pull up Blue. You know what I'm saying? Currency. Childish Gambino. There's a lot of people who don't make the same music that you're hearing on the radio. You know what I'm saying? Let's not get it twisted. It's just you guys don't want to hear it. Those guys don't want to hear it. People don't want to hear it. But when you're looking at that list and you're seeing that there's a lot of 90s albums, that's why. Those are the joints that when you drop something from that, they reminisce over you. There's nothing that's better than that. When them horns first hit, the crowd goes crazy. The crowd goes crazy. You're not topping that. You don't get that feeling again. You play the opening weirdness of Come Clean. Nothing stops that. Nothing compares to that. Almost any Outkast song. Nothing compares to that. There's a reason why certain albums and certain songs are classics, and you go of all time. Because as time goes by, 30 plus years, Mecca and the Soul Brothers still holds up. As time goes by, 30 plus years, The Chronic still holds up. 30 plus years, Illmatic still holds up. You You know what I'm saying? What are we talking about? What are we doing? You know what I'm saying? Paid in Full makes the top 10. Paid in Full was the Illmatic for the 80s. Nobody was rhyming like Rakim. In 86, you know what I'm saying? No Tricks in 86, it's time to build. You know what they was doing in 86? You know who the hottest rappers on radio were in 86? Houdini, Fat Boys, Run DMC in 86. LL didn't even really get on the radio until the Bad album, Bigger and Deffer, in 87. So 86, No Tricks in 86, it's time to build. Eric B. Easy on the cut, no mistakes allowed, cause to me, MC means move the crowd. I made it easy to dance to this. That's 86. Walk This Way was the hottest song in 86. Around 86, the Fat Boys were doing records with the Beach Boys and Chubby Checker. I'm not making this up. This is real. This is real. Like, what the average rapper was doing in 86 wasn't what Rakim was doing in 86. Who Then album drops in 87. KRS-One album drops in 87. Shan Joints drops, I think, in 87. Nothing was preparing you for that. Paid in Full was the Illmatic for that time, because now that album dropped. And again, like Illmatic, it had the benefit of coming out before a lot of other stuff. Paid in Full had the benefit of coming out before, you know what I'm saying, Big Daddy Kane's first album. Had the benefit of coming out before Biz Marquis's first album. Had the benefit of coming out before EPMD. Had the benefit of coming out like before a lot of stuff, before NWA. You know what I'm saying? Had the benefit of coming out before Public Enemy, and actually that album made them rechange the way they did things, so that next year when you hear Takes a Nation of Millions to Hold Us Back, it's a whole different joint. Paid in Full was that thing. That's why Paid in Full will always be in the top 10, because when you're the game-changing album that shifts the whole paradigm of the culture, you can't change that. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's some dope albums, but did they change the game? Like, forget the way MCs rhyme and MCs do this, but the beat, the way it carries. KRS-One said, hip-hop pioneers, we didn't ask to be, but right then hip-hop changed drastically. Nobody wanted to hear the same old rap sound, so we started sampling loops by James Brown. He's talking about what Boogie Down Production was doing and Eric B. and Rakim was doing, and how the game changed when those albums were dropping. The game changed when Marley Marl was doing what he was doing. That's why Marley Marl is when you talk to hip-hop producers that's why when you talk about hip-hop producers, to people who know, Marley Marl's gonna always be one of them top dudes. You know what I'm saying? They're gonna be always Larry Smith. Larry Smith is gonna be there. But Marley Marl is gonna be there. Curtis Blow might be there. People forget how nice Curtis Blow was with the beats. Marley Marl's gonna be there. Marley Marl, everything that you think of that is supposedly a hip-hop beat, quote-unquote, traditional hip-hop beat, it's thanks to him. Them drums, that's thanks to him. The way them samples sound, that's thanks to him. You know what I'm saying? So he'll always be one of them dudes. You ask a Primo, you ask a Pete Rock, he's going to be that dude. He's going to be in that top 5. You ask a Dr. Dre, he's going to be one of them top dudes, because the sound that we're accustomed to hearing, that we think of as traditional hip-hop joint, that boom bap, that's Marley Marl. Game changer. It's not that these new albums aren't dope. The hottest album from 10 years ago hasn't been around for 30 years. You can't compare that. You can't compare an album that just came out like 10 years ago to Illmatic, for the simple fact that you're still talking about Illmatic. And if you're going well by that metrics, it'll never catch up, but then it'll move up. So in another 10 years, when they bring that list back out and there's Illmatic at number 1 and such and such, maybe now at number 10 it's not Slick Rick, but it's that album that was popping off 10 years ago. You know what I'm saying? Now you can put To Pimp a Butterfly on that joint. You know what I'm saying? Now that's going to make that 10. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's going to take that kind of time because it becomes a thing where, yo, this was a dope album. The impact that this album had. You know what I'm saying? Because right now, dudes are just talking about how great it is. You're not understanding the impact that these albums had. The impact that Into the 36 Chambers had on the game. The impact that The Chronic had. The impact that The Great Adventures of Slick Rick had is you can't measure it because you're looking at sales. That's the thing. A lot of these dudes is now like, when I see a lot of these new young podcasters and people who want to talk hip hop, when they talk about, even with the Drake and Kendrick thing, Drake sells more. That's cool for you dudes. For people like me, who got the better bars, don't get it twisted. Drake is nice. He's not Kendrick nice. You know what I'm saying? Like, let me put this to you in sports talk. Clyde Drexler's dope. He'll never be Michael Jordan. You know what I'm saying? We can talk all day about how great Clyde Drexler is. No, don't get it twisted. Clyde Drexler is a monster. He's not Michael Jordan. You know what I'm saying? Let's not play that game and try to compare it like that. Ray Allen is a beast. He's not Kobe Bryant or Allen Iverson. Same positions, same year. Ray Allen is that dude. There's not anybody that's gonna take anything from Ray Allen. He's not Kobe. And he's definitely not Iverson. Difference. That's what I'm trying to tell. Like when you're out here talking that talk, Drake is dope. He's just not Kendrick. So when you guys fall back and go, well, who sells the most? Dude, okay. My ears are telling me something else. You're telling me sales. Man, what we talking about? And that's what I hear, like, who had the most Spotify plays, and who had the most Apple joints, and who had, and guess what, a lot of times, and it's always going, and the older artists that always make that list are always going to be Eminem and Pac. You know what I'm saying? Eminem and Pac will always be in that top 10 range all the time. But that doesn't mean, and then even then, it's like, and Eminem is a problem. Don't get it twisted. Eminem is a problem. On a hip-hop album level, he doesn't have a classic to me. He doesn't have that, oh my God, look, if there's anything that you get from Eminem, it has to be the game-changing album. He has great albums. They're not game-changing albums. So if you go, yo, would you listen to whatever, I think it's Recovery or something, like, would you put that up against Illmatic? No, they're not. It's not going to compare. It's not going to compete. It's not going to compete with Fantastic Voyage Part 2, Volume 2, or whatever, by Slum Village. It's not going to compete. And they're from, both of these people are from Detroit. Eminem and Slum Village, that's Detroit. It's not going to compete. You know what I'm saying? It's not going to be in the same lane. They got better streams. Musically, it's not the same thing. I don't want to sound disrespectful. I think if you're used to listening to the same kind of music and the same kind of flow, and that's actually what you're looking for, while you're at the same time getting mad and criticizing that everything sounds the same, you're not open to Tribe Called Quest. You're not open to De La Soul. You're not open to Slum Village. You're not open to the Roots. You know what I'm saying? You're not open to the whole Hieroglyphics crew. You're not open to Jurassic 5. You're not open to, you know what I'm saying? Like this joint, your ears aren't going to be prepared for Dilated Peoples. You know what I'm saying? You're not going to be ready for that. You're not going to be ready for Cool Breeze out there, part of the Dungeon family. Witch Doctor, part of the Dungeon family. You're not going to be ready for that. Fiend, part of the No Limit crew. You're not going to be ready for that. You know what I'm saying? Because these are dudes who aren't bringing it like what you're accustomed to. Luda can do that. You know what I'm saying? BG Turk Wayne, they can do that. For a good portion, you can literally say sometimes, and in some ways, Cash Money sound is part of that blueprint for today's music. So yeah, that's not a problem. 2 Live Crew, you have to get accustomed to. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, they're saying all the same things that everybody that you want to hear. That music don't sound the same. You gotta get accustomed to that Tila. Come on, man. Look, I'm just out here name dropping hip hop joints. You gotta understand, this is what we do, and that's my thing. Like when you ask these young dudes, give me 100 rappers out right now. I'm not talking about like 5 years ago or 2 years ago. I mean talking about that you listen to right now this year, that have dropped an album this year, newish, new, brand new, like debut album, newish, second album, third album, or veteran, 100 joints right now, and they can't do it. Back in the day, you could do that. You could pull up, 94, you can come away with almost 100 albums, if not 100 albums. And I know somebody's listening going, that ain't real. It's real. It's real. It's real. It is real. Because back then it was also the underground scene. So yeah, it was real. Them white labels, all this joint got on the radio. Natural Elements got on the radio. You know what I'm saying? All of these joints, Power Ruled got on the radio. All of these joints was making it at the same time. You could do that. You know what I'm saying? Give me something, give me 100 joints within the last couple of years. 100. You know what I'm saying? Even if it's the same artist who done dropped 2 albums in the last 3 years. Give me 100, and they can't. Now, the same person that's gonna tell me between 94, 95, and 96 that I couldn't come up with 100 albums, you're playing yourself. You're playing yourself. Whether it's Raz Kass, Jay-Z, Smooth the Hustler, you know what I'm saying? K-Def and what was the dude that K-Def was with? I can't think of it. Cause the vocabulary. I forgot. Look, I can think of half of the joint, but I can't think of the whole joint. But anyway, K-Def had a guy that he was with. Gemini was yo. Woof. Gemini was a problem. You know what I mean? Artists all over the place. You give me that 94 to 96, I can hit you off with over 100 albums. And they all sound different. That's the thing. And the industry is so caught up in cookie cutting that when you hear newer artists, they're dropping music that sounds like the same joint. So now you're like, You know what I'm saying? Double XL did their freshman joint. Them dudes all sound like somebody. And it's like, yo, where do you go for that? How do you, you know what I'm saying? And people are kind of like, this class is weak. It's not that it's weak. It's you've gotten older and you're tired of the same old. You know what I'm saying? And some of them dudes actually have bars. It's just delivery. It's something that you've heard before. That's all. You know what I'm saying? It was dope to know that Nas didn't sound like Big, and Big didn't sound like J. Rue the Damager, and J. Rue the Damager didn't sound like Tash from the Alcoholics. You know what I'm saying? And Tash from the Alcoholics didn't sound like Dre or Big Boy from Outkast, and neither one of them dudes sound like Common. And then, you know what I'm saying, let's talk about Keith Murray, who sound totally different than all of them. It was just Sticky Fingers, and Fredro didn't sound like anybody else. Or, you know what I mean? Boot Camp Click, Tech Still didn't sound like Ruck and Rock. Two different groups of duos. Music sound totally the same. The way they spit their bars sound totally. Two different groups who sound totally different on the same crew. Bar-wise, music-wise. Raekwon, Jizza, ODB, Method Man, Ghost, no similarities. No, even when you hear Ghost and Ray Joint, you literally can hear, oh, yeah, this is a Ghost album. This definitely doesn't sound like this is built for Cuban Links Part 2. This has its own distinct sound. And that alone, like the fact that RZA was out here solely producing those albums shows you how great he was, because everybody had their own vibe. again, that was the greatness of the 90s. So when people hate on the 90s, they are not understanding diversity was in abundance back then. You could actually go, oh yeah, I don't listen to such and such, and nobody was gonna hate on you. You know what I'm saying? You go, oh yeah, nah, son, I don't really be listening to Too Short like that. Oh nah, son, yeah, I don't know, son, I ain't really into Redman like that. Alright, cool. Like, yeah, Redman got some joints though. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I just ain't a Redman fan. And you could go on about your life. There was no, I gotta have this super debate about you about how great Redman is. You went, that ain't for me. You know what I'm saying? That ain't for me. And nobody was a hater. Because it wasn't a hate, it was an acquired taste. This was your taste. This is what you like. You could be from the West Coast and never like one East Coast rapper and nobody would hate. You could be from the East Coast and never like one West Coast rapper and nobody would hate, because it's like, this is what your ears are accustomed to, but you appreciate the diversity. You know what I'm saying? And then there's that time when that it's those one or two songs that just can't be denied. Flavor in Your Ear was banging on the West Coast just as hard as was banging on the West Coast just as hard as it was on the West Coast. I mean, was banging on the West Coast just as hard as it was on the East Coast. Down south, Midwest, up north. Couldn't deny that. I Used to Love Her played everywhere. Every aspiring MC, every DJ, every producer, everybody who said that they loved the culture of hip-hop, when they heard that, they stopped, they sat. And even when you ignored it and just let it play, and then that last line come in, that's what I'm talking about, y'all, is hip-hop. You're like, hold on, whoa, hold on, play that joint back in there. What are you talking about? Oh, snap, okay, yeah, this official. That's what we did. Crossroads. You could be anywhere in this country and could feel missing your Uncle Charles, y'all. Hey, you felt that joint. I miss my Uncle Charles, y'all. So long. I see you at the crossroads. You know I'm alone. Hey. Everybody was out here rocking that. No, you couldn't deny it. It was everywhere. Come clean, you wanna front what? Jump up and get buck. If you feeling lucky duck, then press your luck. West Coast dudes was bumping that heavy, and it felt like it might have been a shot at them, but they felt it. You know what I mean? That's 1, 2, 3 into the 4. Snoop Doggy Doggy Dr. Dre is at the door. East Coast loved it. Down South loved it. Hey, rub your hands if you love hip hop. Rub your if you love Big Papa. Everywhere you went, that joint got love. Everywhere you went. Everywhere you went. California love got love everywhere you went. You know what I'm saying? So let's not get it twisted. That was the beautiness of it. It wasn't a contained joint. I'ma stop talking. I probably talked too long. I'ma holler at y'all next week. We're gonna go back to what we do next week. Now next month with the DNC jumping off, it might be weird again. But I just had to do this because, like I said, I did the Illmatic, and it wasn't a versus either, by the way. I salute the verses. I don't know how that's gonna work out, but this was not a versus thing. This was more like a tribute. Like, yo, these are the two major albums of 1994. You can't talk about debut albums hip hop wise in 94 without talking about either one of these albums at all. So it was like, yo, I'm gonna salute these joints, and we're gonna still do something for 94 itself, probably September. You know what I'm saying? On Legal Crime Radio. You know what I mean? Just Google that, Bing that, and it'll pop up. And my shows are on Wednesday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, because I know I'm global. I'm international, baby. And on Saturdays at 6 p.m. And I'm gonna make sure that those are my Wednesday joints, and we're gonna just rock. But yeah, man, this is what we do, and this is how we get down. Thank y'all for listening. East Coast, West Coast, worldwide. We're gonna ride. Lost Boys. Nobody sound like the Lost Boys, and the Lost Boys didn't sound like anybody. 90s group, salute the cheeks, rest in peace to Freaky Ty. pun. Look, I'm about to just start going all over the place again. I'm leaving. We're out. I'm gone. Right now, I sound like I just feel like. Remember when you would get ready to go and a whole nother conversation will start, and then you just turn and your hand on the doorknob, but then you just stop and go, oh yeah, man, and then that's a whole nother 20-minute conversation. Yeah, then you end up sitting down. Like, hold on, what's that? What show is that? Oh, whole word. Man, let me go watch this joint then, son. Hip hop. That's what we do. They say you only live once. That's a lie. You only die once. So anytime that your God allows you to get out here and continue your journey, please show the world the best version of you. Y'all be safe. Peace. And don't be afraid to let these people know that, yeah, the 90s got them joints. I'm just saying. Peace.
This is a Soul of Art presentation.